Hello friends, it's Shelley from Koala Knits and Knacks. I am so happy that you are spending your time with me, and together we're going to make a beautiful beanie. Now this is a brimless beanie, however it does look like it has a brim, but that's just the way I organize the row counts. And I'm using Yarnspirations Caron Simply Soft Yarn, which is like a dream in the machine, and it's so soft to the touch. And we are using 4 colors, although if you look at this picture, it looks like there's only 3, but there are 4, and you'll see that at the very beginning of the actual tutorial. You'll see notice the difference better than what this picture had taken. I will have all the colors listed in the description box below, so please have a look down there for that and other important information. All right, grab your machine. I'm using my 46 needle Addi, but you can use your 48 needle Sentro as well, and it will be perfect. And friends, once you have your projects finished, if you're posting in any Facebook groups, please tag me at Shelley Weeb, and hopefully I'll get a notification and can come and check out your finished project and cheer you on. All right, let's get started on this beautiful brimless beanie. Have fun, friends. All right, so I have my 46 needle machine set up. I should dust it and make it look all nice and shiny for you. I have my machine. I have my yarn. As you can see, I have a bunch of cakes sitting in front of me. These are, what are these? These are Caron Simply Soft in a bunch of different colors. Now, Caron Simply Soft, when you use it right out of the skein, it's kind of hard to pull and it can knot quite easily. And I think it's because it's so smooth. I don't know what it is, but I always have problems with that. I make sure that I roll it into cakes before I use it. And of course, if you're going to sit down and start a project, you might as well grab yourself a snack. I made myself some peanut butter cookies and they're so good. So you have your machine, you have your yarn. Now the problem for me here is I can't decide what colors of yarn I'm going to use, because I'm not going to use these all in this one beanie. But I think the 3 in here are the ones that I'm going to stick to. These ones are beautiful fall colors. You can see those with the ivory. That would make a gorgeous, gorgeous beanie as well. But I really like a bright blue with a dark brown. I think it's beautiful, and I think that just kind of adds to it. But that makes it look a little bit too pumpkiny, I think. So there's that one. I'm just showing you what goes through my head. I'm trying to figure this out. I think no matter what combinations you choose with this yarn, it's going to be beautiful. But I'm going to go for these 3, just because I don't know, there's something about them that's calling my name. So we're going to start with the brown. We're going to do the inside of our beanie, and I might change my mind by the time I get to these colors. We'll see. Keep following me and you'll see. But I am going to make this one with the intent of not having it reversible. So I'm just going to use the dark color for the inside. Now, you can still reverse it if you want, but when I do a reversible beanie, sometimes I like to make the inside look, you know, just as fancy as the outside kind of thing. I don't just make it plain. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But for this one, I'm going to just use the plain brown. And if I reverse it, then it's just going to, excuse me, it's just going to be this color. But we're going to start by getting those little guys out of the way. Let me just move them down. We're going to bring our last white and our first black needle in line with our yarn guide. And you can see, if you're new to my channel, I take a black permanent marker and I mark that divider so I can always see when the end of my row is coming. It helps me a lot, and I know it will help you too. You're going to take your yarn. We're going to do a drawstring cast on by going in front of that first black needle, behind the next, in front and behind, all the way around. Friends, let it slip through your fingers. Don't put pressure on it or tension on it at all, because, well, there's a little bit of tension. You don't want it loopy, but you just want it to have its natural tension as it slips through your finger, because there's no weight to pull down the first couple of rows, and sometimes then you'll get a tucked stitch. So loosely for the cast on row, and I'm going to change my counter to 0 before I get to the end. And into the yarn feeder it goes. Your last loop strand should be behind that last white needle. Now I do not, let me just grab my yarn here. I do not use a tensioner. I use my fingers and I just hold it between like that. There's very little tension there, and I can feel if there's knots coming, or if I'm at the end of the yarn ball and I didn't notice it, or if there's too tight a tension coming out of the ball. And you know, you just have control when you hold it in your hands like that. So that's what I do. We're gonna go very slowly for the first 2 rounds, making sure that those loops go down over the red teeth. If you go too quickly, sometimes they don't go all the way down and you'll get a tucked stitch, especially on the next row. So you wanna take your time, go slow at first. And pull that little tail down. And I am going to go moderately slow for this next row too. Don't step on your yarn strand, guys. And then I can speed it up. And I'm gonna be keeping my eye right here till I get to the speed that I want. What is going on? This yarn strand, I put it into a cake, but this little guy here, I'm gonna show you because it happens to all of us, right? This little strand keeps popping out of the center and tangling around the other side. So I can tuck it down in there, but I'm gonna just cut it off because this is the second time I've had to stop the camera for it. And I like an outside pull because if I use an inside pull, the more yarn you use, then the inside starts to cave in. So I always use an outside pull. But anyways, where was I? I'm gonna try to find the speed that my machine and my yarn like together. And when I find that speed, which is never overly fast for me because I think you get a nicer look if you keep a moderate pace rather than a furious pace. And I'm going to try to keep that speed because when you stop like this and you pull yarn out of your skein and you do whatever, get up and get a cookie or whatever you do. When you stop and start and stop and start, the beginning of your row, when you start again, the tension is automatically, and it makes sense, it's automatically different than what it is when you keep going around and around and around without stopping. And that's when you see those lines that are looking funny at the front of your work. People will say, how come I'm getting these lines on my work? Well, that's why. You have to keep an even speed and an even tension throughout your project as much as possible, and then that will eliminate, for the most part, those lines. Now, if you're using really cheap yarn that's coarse to the feel, you're going to have that problem just naturally. It'll do it on its own. It doesn't matter how much you keep the speed consistent. But it's just a little tip that I want to tell you in case you're finding that that's a problem, and maybe it'll help you to know that keep your speed consistent and your tension consistent, and those lines will be less obvious. All right, I'm going to go until I have 50 rows. This is a brimless beanie. I'm not folding the brim up. And so the inside is 50 rows, 50. I'll see you when I get there. All right, so I have finished the inside portion of my beanie. Oh, this yarn is so soft. I just love it. It works so great in my machine. And now we're going to work on the outside, which also has to be a total of 50 rows, but I want it to look like it has a brim on it without actually doing a fold up brim. So we're going to do the first section a little bit different than we do the rest. And for our fake looking kind of brim, I'm going to maintain this color. I'm going to stick with this color for 8 rows. All right. So I'm going to do another 8 rows, and that's only part of the fake looking brim that'll be on the other side. But let's do 8 rows, taking us to row 58 on our counter. Just follow along with me, write down the row counts as I go, and it'll turn out beautifully. Soon I'll have to roll my project into a donut because you can see it's starting to touch the table. And when it touches the table and you continue knitting, it pushes up on your work. You can see it's starting to just pucker already. And you don't want to risk dropping a loop off those red teeth. But not only that, by having it tighter, it helps to maintain the tension as you go around and knit. So I'm going to do one more row and then I'm going to fix that. I'll show you how if you haven't done it before. So this is row 58. So I've done 8 rows of the fake looking kind of brim. I'm going to pick up my project and I'm just going to roll it into what we call a donut. That way it doesn't pucker up on the table as you're knitting, and it keeps the tension around the inside of your barrel. nice and even, which helps to pull down those loops. All right, so now that we have 8 rows, we're going to cut off our tail. We're going to pop that in between the last white and the first black. And I thought I had the color choice that I was going to do. I'm going to take this yellow. And we are going to just do 1 row. All right. So, I mean, technically I could have just put this in the middle and lifted it out again and just switched it. It's habit of mine to cut it and to do a jogless join. So that's what I'm going to do here. But because it's just 1 row, again, I could have just left this attached, pop this into the middle there. And then and if you haven't cut yours yet, you might want to do that. Then when you're done your 1 row here, you just bring this back out and you start knitting with it. If you're doing more than 1 row, I wouldn't do it that way because you don't want to have a loose strand there. It'll make your 1 stitch look wonky. But this is my practice, and it's just a force of habit that I cut that and do it this way. And I'm going to put that yarn tail in between the last white, the first black, and then I'm going to bring it around the other side of that needle. And we will do a jogless join. When you're knitting in the round, every time you come around, it goes on top. And then you come around again and it goes on top. By doing this join and tying it off later, we're going to bring that back into line like that. So I'm going to let those just sit in there. I'm going to hold it, just give it a little bit of tension. We're going to just go around 1 time. I knit 4 or 5 needles, then I help any loops down over the red teeth, and then I take both ends and pull it away from each other, and that just snugs up my tension. I'm going to do 1 round and 1 round only. There we go. I'm going to cut that off. Generally, I like to do 3 or 4 rows before I tie off my jogless join, but because there's only 1 row here, it could get a little bit loose and I could, it just will compromise the look of the stitches if I don't do it now. And it's a little tricky to do because there's nothing hardly to pull. But you're going to take these 2 and you're going to, as much as you can, pull them away from each other, which is very little. You're going to get very little out of it, if any, but it'll still work, trust me. And we're going to cut that off. We're going to pop this into the center, and I'm not going to tie that one after the first round, so you'll be able to see what I mean. I'm going to put my brown in there. We're going to do another jogless join. I'm going to pop that around. I'm going to hold these 2. I'm going to knit 4 or 5 needles. Then I'm going to help those loops down. I'm going to take both ends and pull away from each other. If you just back this up a half a second, you'll see the difference that made. All right, and we are going to go ahead and we are going to knit 8 more rows. All right, so 8 rows. This is 1, 2, 3. After row 4, I'm going to tie my join. 4. So you can see that my strands are here. I'm going to take them and gently pull them away from each other. And as you do so, you will feel it, but you will also hear it slip into place. And when it slips into place, you stop pulling. You'll get the feel of it. You could probably hear that. And then you give it a tie. Don't tie this one too tight, because if you pull really tight on that, you're going to compromise. You're going to make your stitch too short, too small. And you tie the second one tight. Then you can cut that off. And that's how you tie jogless joins. And again, it's best to do it on row 3 or 4 after you've added your tails, because then it's a little bit farther down and there's some slack in there to pull. We didn't have that for this one. And I could have left it and done it now at the same time. Your choice on this beanie or the next one that you do. You probably pass this unless you watch the whole video before you start your beanie. You can choose to do it however you like. And the best is to wait a little bit. But because I only did 1 row, I didn't want to compromise the look of that first stitch. So that was my choice. So I've done 4. This is 5. And I'm going to go for 8. We now have 67 rows completed on our counter. I'm going to cut the tail of my brown, pop it in between the last white and the first black, and I'm going to grab this beautiful color here. All right. We are going to find the end of that one. Just going to move the other 2 cakes out of the way. I'll be right back. Taking our teal, which is my 3rd color, we're going to pop that into the yarn feeder. I'm going to do a jogless join. So I take it to the other side of that white needle. You're going to knit 4 or 5 needles. You're going to help these loops down underneath the red dividers. Take both tails, pull away from each other. And we are going to knit 4 rows of this teal color. After 3 rows, I'm going to do my jogless join tie. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, I said after 3, but we're going to do it after 4. Take your 2 tails and gently pull them away from each other. So you can see it, feel it, hear it. And we're going to tie. And again, cut off your tails. Now you don't have to worry about that at all for the rest of life. For the rest of the project, it's done. Except for we need to finish knitting our 4th row. There you go. You should have 71 rows on your counter. We did 50. Then we did 8, 1 and 8. That's 70. So that's 67 rows. And now we just did 4. That's 71. All right. So from there, we are going to add our brown. I'm going to cut this off because I'm doing more than 1 row and I just don't like a loose strand on the inside of my beanie. We're going to add our brown back to our machine. We're going to do a jogless join, knit 4 or 5 needles, help those loops down, fix your tension. We're going to knit 3 rows of brown. So row 72, 73, and 74. Before I get to the end, I'm going to go ahead and fix this. Before I add my next color, because I just don't want a bunch of loose tails. Cut that off. Bring the last white and the first black in line with your machine. You're going to cut that off. Add it into the center. You're going to take that teal color again, or your 3rd color. And we're going to knit another 4 rows. So 75, 76, 77, and 78. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to tighten it right away. So that's row 3. It doesn't matter if you tighten it on this side or this side, just wherever it's convenient. And cut that off. And finish my 4th row. And cut that tail off. Add it to the center. I'm going to take my 4th color of choice. Find the end for that. We're going to add it to our machine. Do a jogless join. Hold those 2 tails, knit 4 or 5 needles, fix your tension, pull away, knit 4 rows, 79, 80, 81, and 82. Oh, these colors are beautiful. This is the end of row 3 coming up. I'm going to tie this off. Cut it off. Now you can do all these ties once your project is off the machine. You turn your work inside out and you tie them all by pulling essentially the same way, and it works that way too. I find it easiest and best to do it on the machine. Okay, so I'm going to do one more. And there we go. I've got 4 rows of this 4th color. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to cut that tail. I'm going to grab the brown again, color A. We're going to insert that, do a jogless join, knit 4 or 5 needles, fix our tension. We are going to knit, how many rows did I do of the brown? 3. 3 rows of brown. 1, 2, and 3. I'll tie my jogless join before I get to the end here. There we go. Cut that off. Cut your tail off of the brown. Once you get it to the right place, just made it. I'm going to add my green. So if you're tying your jogless join, remember, don't cut it your other color until you get to the right spot. But I have enough there, barely, but I have enough. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to knit 4 rows following the same sequencing. So I'm going to knit 4 or 5 needles. I'm going to help that down, pull away, and I'm going to go, oops, got a split piece of yarn there, and I'm going to knit 4 rows. You can see there's a little hole joining there because this is so short, it's just got nothing to hang on to, so I'm going to fix that right now. Okay. And then I'll finish my 4 rows. There we go, caught that. See, never panic, it'll always work out. And watching for the black divider to come around. There we go. Now, if you think, did I do 3 or did I do 4 rows? How many did I do? If you take your work and you pull it down and you count underneath this divider, the bars that are underneath one of these red dividers, it's easier if I do it across, but you won't see it in the camera. You've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. I know I've done 4 rows. You don't count in between them, you count underneath them, and that will tell you how many rows you've done. All right, so I'm going to roll that up a bit more. So far, we've knit 89 rows. We have 1 more color change to do, and I'm going to go back to my teal color. Pop that into the center. I have all these other colors that you've seen that I can grab, but I like the the patterning that it makes if I duplicate this one. All right, looks more like it's planned out than it's just a bunch of random colors, which is very nice too. But I'm going to do it this way. So I'm going to knit 4 or 5 needles, fix my tension. I'm going to knit 4 rows. Do you know when your handle cranks like that, which you've heard twice in this video, which you probably would have to go way back in time on my channel to hear that sound in any of my videos. But I have a bunch of cakes down here on the floor by my feet. And if you're stepping on your strand and it's not able to feed, your handle will scream at you, and that's what it does. If that happens consistently, you're going to break little tines that are inside the red ring that's underneath here, and you're going to break those little tines, and you're going to have to then, tines are what I call them, these little groove things, and then you're going to have to replace it. And so I am confident that that never happened here. It was strictly gave me a warning. But if you're constantly hearing your handle scream at you, it's because the tension is too tight and it's having to fight to get the yarn to pass through. Now I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to look across, and I'm going to see how many rows did I do. I did 3, so I'm doing 1 more. And I'm going to tie this off. Making sure that I end my row. I'm going to cut that, open the latch, pop that in between the last white and the first black. I'm going to grab my brown for the last time. We're going to do the jogless join. We're going to knit 4 or 5 needles. We're going to help our tension. We are going to knit 3 rows. Oh, this is going to be beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Well, you'll have seen it at the beginning of the video already, but there we go. I'm going to just tighten this. You probably heard that one. And finish the end of the row, just like that. Make sure, double check your work, make sure you did all 3 rows. And we're going to do 4 more rows. Our counter says 96, 4 rows will take us to 100, which is absolutely perfect. So we have done a great job, right? Go get yourself another cookie. I'm going to tighten that, 4 rows. And let's just go ahead and fix our join. Cut that off. And one more. I will stop with the last white and the first black needle in front of my yarn feeder. And from there, I am going to take a yarn tail that is long enough to go around my barrel 1.5 to 2 times. And if you've done this as many times as I have, you don't have to measure, you just do it. And then we are going to do the drawstring cast off. Let me just stand up and get to this side of my machine. There's 2 different ways that I cast off with the drawstring. One is on this side, one's on that side. And you'll see that done various times in my other videos. So, but this time we're going to do it on this side. You're going to rotate your handle. As soon as that first needle drops down, that loop is ready to take off. You're going to take a couple off before you... I do one at a time for the first few until I can get some slack back here. And if I just do one at a time, then this needle is holding that next loop, so it's not going to fall off the red teeth and drop a row. So get a few done. Now I'll do a few more. So all those needles have dropped down, which means if I take this one off and pull up too hard, it's going to pull those ones off. So always go out to the side. If you're new and you don't know the tension, put your finger over the next one, just like that, and take them off that way. If you know the tension, mind you, this is slippery yarn, so even though I do know the tension, on slippery yarn, I always will hold it because those little loops will jump faster than you can even imagine. And so otherwise, if it wasn't slippery yarn, you just go very lightly over this red bump. Don't go too high. And then you pick up the next stitch. But again, even for someone like me who's done this a million times, with slippery yarn like this, I am going to be careful. If it still drops on you and your row starts to unravel, don't panic. It's all good. Go to my techniques playlist and I'll show you how you fix it when it's off when your project is off the machine. Very, very easy to do. This aqua teal, whatever color you want to call it, and chocolate brown are probably two of my favorite color combinations. I just think they're beautiful together. There we go. I'm going to remove my machine and we're going to look at the magic. There we go. Let's just find our needle there. Take it off. Don't have to take it off, but I'm going to take it off for the stretching process. You're going to unroll and you're going to stretch it out, because although it looks not bad here, once you stretch it out, it's going to be beautiful. So stretch widthwise and lengthwise. You guys, this yarn is so soft. Now I'm going to show you these jogless joins. Some of them I have to play with still a little bit, but for the most part, they're straight. Except for this one here, where I tied it on the first row. I won't do that again. I don't like that at all. I think it looks terrible. So it's just, I'm going to leave it. Obviously, I'm going to leave it, but I could have just done it like this and not showed you. But it's a teaching moment. So make your tail a little bit longer so that nothing slips out. And then tie this join off when you're about 3 or 4 rows down on your next color. So you'll have two different tails to join. But better to do it that way because that looks terrible. All right, so now that we have it stretched out, we're gonna let's take this solid end and we're going to pull it tight. You can cut off a lot of that length just so that you're not fighting with a long tail. And you're gonna smooth this out and pull. Then you can put this back onto your needle and you're gonna reinforce around the top row of stitches. It's hard for you to see brown in the camera, but I'm just getting underneath that first row of stitches and I'm gonna go around once just to reinforce that top edge. Underneath and underneath. And pull. Be careful you don't snap your yarn. I'm going to just pick up a couple strands here and I'm going to make a knot. Just one is all I need. Pull that knot down with your thumb. Put your hand inside your beanie. Pop your needle into the very center and then grab it with your hand and pinch at the top here and bring the whole thing halfway through. The end all the way through, but you're putting your beanie in half just like that. Let this tail go and do the same thing to this one. Smoothing it out as you go. I am going to reinforce this top. All right, friends, something kicked off on my camera, or I didn't hit record hard enough, and this next clip didn't record. But anyways, all I did was the same thing I did with the inside, is I took my yarn tail and I went around the top row of the stitches there and reinforced it one time. Then with that tail that was sticking out from the inside and the tail from this outside one, I tied them in a secure knot. I pulled the inside layer right up close to this outside layer, tied those two strands really, really tight, put them on my needle and hid them into my work in between the two layers, pulled them out, cut them off. That's all I did to get a finished top there. So then what we're going to do next is we're going to grab our pom pom maker. We're going to make a pom pom for this one. And I love Clover Pom Pom Makers. If you follow my channel, you know I use them all the time. I have a set of 4, and this is the biggest one in the set of 4. I will link them down in the description box below, so no worries, you can see them there. I also have the humongous jumbo one, and it's kind of cool too, and I almost used it for this beanie, but I thought because it didn't have a foldable brim to make it heavier on the head, on the forehead part, that jumbo one might have been too heavy. So we're going to take our yarn. I'm going to use this teal color and this one here. All the yarn color names will be down in the description box below. And I do have a full video on how to use the Clover Pom Pom Maker on my channel, so you can look for that. But I'll get you started here and then I'll catch up with you and show you the rest as we go too. But I'm going to take those 2 yarn strands. You can choose 1 color, 2 colors, 3 colors, 4 colors, all the colors in your hat, whatever you choose. And I just begin wrapping. And you wrap evenly around. Just like that, going back and forth all the way around. Let me put this one down because it's giving me a little bit of problems. There we go. And you wrap all the way around. Don't worry about that tail because when we trim later, it's going to get all nice and trimmed off. And you keep going round and round and round and round and round. Back and forth like that. And I go until it's almost straight across like that. Not quite. You have a little bit of a divot in there, but almost till it's straight across in there. And I'm going to keep going until it's filled, and then I'll come back when I have this one side filled. I'll come back and we'll continue from there. All right. So I've evenly wrapped that across. I'm going to close it. I do have a tutorial on my channel how to use the Clover Pom Pom Makers. You can go ahead and watch that if you want a quicker, a slower, more detailed video. I'm going to go ahead, wrap this other side exactly the same way, and then I'll meet you back. What I did next was I took a long strand, double strand of yarn. I'm going to put it in half just like that. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut down the center, following the groove that is there to guide me. And on the other side. Just like that. I'm going to take these strands. You don't have to double strand it. I often don't, but for this one I'm going to. And you're going to take the loop on this side, just pull up, take these other strands and put it through that loop. And then you're going to tighten. Just like that. Now take two of these strands, doesn't matter which two. Bring them around to the other side. And tie a firm knot. That is how I make my pom-pom. I'm going to take this off, but we're not done. We are not done. There's a strand there that I didn't cut. If your pom-pom maker won't open, check to see if there's a strand that's giving you some attitude. There we go. You could use a faux fur pom-pom. You can do whatever you like. Wear it without a pom-pom. I give it a good shake. And then you see it's funny shaped. So I'm going to take my scissors and over the garbage, I'm going to just trim this up so it's nice and round. Once you have your pom-pom beautifully shaped the way you want it, and it does take time, friends, but it's worth the time and effort, you're going to grab a pom-pom holder, whatever your favorite one is. Now, these are ultimately my favorite pom-pom holders. They're called pumpkins, and you see me using them a lot on my channel. They're for when I want to do a removable pom-pom for a reversible beanie. Then we leave a little bit of a bigger hole opening in there, and it comes with a cinch guide so that you can make the right hole. And then you tie your ends onto here, and then you just squeeze it closed, pop it in, squeeze it, pop it out, turn your hat around and use it that way. I can use it for this hat simply by bringing these into the inside and tying them around there, then it just will stay. Or another option that I just recently posted in my channel are these very basic and simple pom-pom holders, removable pom-pom holders that I made out of a cutting board from the Dollarama. You can make like 80 of them on one sheet that costs like $1.25. So I just recently posted that on my channel. You can look for that, but I'm going to use that one today. I'm going to take these strands. I might need to grab a bigger, no, that'll work. And we're going to put them through the center. And bring them through. Oops, I kind of missed the center, but that, oh no, there it is. So what I could do is I could take this and I could wrap it around this way and then wrap this one around that way and give it a good tie and cut it off, and then this is essentially my pom-pom holder. Or I can put this one on there, match up the grooves with the yarn tails, and tie. Just simply like that. Make my bow a little bit shorter. And because it's not, this one's not going to be a removable one. If you wanted to, wear it with different pom-poms and take it off, then you just tie a firm bow and cut these a little bit shorter so that they're not just hanging in there. But this one's going to stay on the beanie, so I'm going to just double knot it, just like that. Cut those off, and that's holding my pom-pom. Very, very easy pom-pom holders to make. And there we go, folks. We've got our beautiful, beautiful brimless beanie. So if you've made it to this part of the tutorial, then you have made yourself a beanie. Way to go, great job. I hope you enjoyed the process and that you're going to love the beanie that you have made, whether it be for yourself or a gift. Maybe you're making a bunch and putting them away for Christmas, or you're making them for charity. Whatever the case, I hope you've had fun making a brimless striped beanie. Thanks again for joining me, friends. It's always a pleasure spending time with you. I love and appreciate you all very, very much. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do so, and be sure and give it a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. Take care. I'll see you in the next tutorial. Have a blessed day.